With PE with Joe, obviously that's had a huge amount of impact, and I think it blew even your expectations out of the water, right, in terms of the number of people that took it. And you went from being incredibly well known in the fitness industry, and it was crossover. You were unavoidable for the first few weeks of lockdown. What was really interesting, none of those videos did you mention COVID, lockdown. None of your messaging, none of your communication focused on anything that was actually going on. It was all just positive.
That?
Yeah.
Really?
And you never ever brought any of that up. How conscious was it that you, before you did that first live video, you're like, I'm not going to mention anything negative, I'm not going to mention lockdown, I'm not going to mention people stuck in, I'm just going to focus on the positives, because I think that was deliberate.
Yeah, it was a massive decision because I was anxious, people were upset, we were like unsure what was going on. I mean, don't forget, in my head, I thought it was going to be like a week or two or 3 weeks or they call it a circuit break or something. But I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to come on here and talk about COVID and lockdown. I'm going to just talk about why we're doing this, why we're exercising, make it fun, spot the difference. I had the obviously Fancy Dress Fridays, and I think that was an amazing thing because people then could relax. They could just forget about that for a moment and have 30 minutes of like energetic exercise, which kind of like cleared their mind of that and that anxiety and released that from their bodies. And that was really what it was all about. It wasn't about trying to help people. It wasn't about trying to help people lose weight.
Yeah.
I was trying to help people feel good and relax and just not be stressed out.
You've spoken about how when PE with Joe ended, you felt like it was a big anti-climax. Your sense of purpose had suddenly gone away. How difficult a time was that? Because lockdown was kind of still going on, but we didn't know what kind of world we were going to emerge back into. How difficult was it?
Well, yeah, they call it like the old gold medal syndrome. That
right.
People that win like in a massive moment and they win a gold medal, they complete the Tour de France, and it's that you have that like, what next? What am I doing now? And I definitely felt a little bit kind of. Yeah, I felt flat. I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I was like, it all happened. And when it was over, I was like, am I still valuable? Am I still useful? Am I still help? That comes back to my thing about like, having like connection to other people and feeling like I am helping people. But I soon like reconnected with my audience and I got back into it. And although I wasn't, even now, like I'm not having tens of millions of people a month exercise, but I still get a few million views on YouTube and I've got, a few 100,000 people using the apps. It's still what makes me feel good. But yeah, like I just think it was because it was such a big moment and it was such a whirlwind. That when it was over, I was like, what am I going to do now? Where can I go from that? It's like, there's nothing that's going to ever...
Were you worried that you'd peaked, if that makes sense? Like the thing that you kind of always wanted and to have a massive tangible impact on kids' health. Were you worried like, oh my God, I'm 34, 35, I've already done what I was going to do?
Oh yeah, and the rest. I'm 38 this year, but no, I definitely, it was a peak and I think it will always be a peak. Like it'll always be my career-defining moment. Nothing will eclipse that. Nothing I achieve will ever have as much impact as getting a whole nation through a global pandemic. Like it is, and I'm fine with that.
A lot of people from politicians, across the board were calling you a hero. What you're doing was heroic. Did you feel like a hero?
I didn't, no, and I still find it weird. I find it weird when people say, lockdown legend, like me and Captain Tom, because obviously Captain Tom raised loads of money and I did my thing, but like, I don't know, I just felt like I was doing good and I felt great, but I didn't think it was like, at the time, this momentous thing. But obviously when I look back now and I think about just how many people did it, like it did blow my mind. Like when I looked at the end of the lockdown, there was 100 million views globally. So like, if you think about that, like it is mad to think that was done just from a camera in my living room, on my own.
When you've talked about struggles mentally afterwards, a lot of people are quite quick to criticise. What have you got to complain about? Beautiful wife, amazing kids, lovely house, money in the bank. Do you still think there's an issue when it comes to talking about mental health? Maybe specifically in this country, that if you're kind of a certain level of fame or wealth, like you shouldn't really be affected by mental health issues.
There can be that element of people associate that, if you have external things that you're always internally happy. But I always say, happiness is an inside job. Like you can wake up, we've got so many examples of amazing, talented musicians and actors and amazing people that aren't happy, right? And you think, why aren't you happy? You've got everything. Because it comes down to like, how are you feeling inside? And I just think, you got to always think about that. If you're following someone on social media and you think, they don't really know what it's like, he might have lived in a council flat once, but now he's got a big house. But you can always connect and relate back to that life and that.
Because that little boy's still inside, right?
Yeah.
You still remember that.
And that experience for me, like I was ADHD, not diagnosed, but I was ADHD, I was anxious, I had so much energy. And if I didn't have sport and PE and I was locked in my house for 18 weeks, I would have really struggled mentally, been really, really in a bad way. And so that was me, when I did PE with Joe and I'm going live, I'm thinking, imagine if that was me now, like how great this workout would be for me and how much it's probably helping some kids, especially those with, like I said, with autism or mental health or learning difficulties, because they have such structure and routine that they need something to anchor themselves to. And so it was a massive driving force in doing them every day.